Hey everyone, welcome to episode 64 of the Pickleball Effect podcast. I'm your host, Braydon.
And I'm Kyle.
We got our usual segments today, weekly update, 3-0 to 5-0, paddle, babble, and gear, and Q&A. Bunch of stuff happened to me this week. I didn't see any bullets for you, but some interesting stories, some stuff that came through the email. I got the 3-0 to 5-0 today.
You do.
Paddle, or Kyle's Corner, little low today.
It is low. There wasn't a lot that went on other than some paddles. I mean,
yeah, lots of paddle
This
talk
was
today.
definitely a paddle week.
This will be a paddle heavy one. So we're going to talk C45 first impressions. We both got them. We both played with them. Talk Honolulu for a little bit. They got a floating core. We both got Flamingos this week. So we'll be trying those, talking about those. And then talk about True Foam's launch date, Selkirk's launch of their own
Foam.
solid core, solid foam core.
2025 is going to be the year of solid foam cores.
Yeah, I think those are going to be next. So we're going to talk about that. And then I put up a little Q&A thing on the Instagram story. Had about 20 or so questions come through. Some really good ones. Like, we got some smart followers.
You got better ones than I did. Mine were goofy.
We got, anyway, so some tough questions we're going to kind of talk through and debate there. So starting with our weekly update, first order of business is the stache. Does it stay or go, Kyle? What do you say?
Your hair's so light, it's even hard to tell you have a mustache. So I say you still go with it until it gets bad or not.
It's light, it's thin, it's wispy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be growing a mustache, but I am, and
It's not dark enough
I'm
to look
enjoying
bad.
it.
Yeah, it's not dark enough to look bad. So I say you go with it until it looks bad.
I cannot grow a full beard. I have like two moles right here that grow hair. That grows the most hair on my face. But yeah, dude, I'm trying out this mustache. I told the story in my last hybrid review, but I just got lazy for a couple days, and my wife Malia's like, Braydon, just try it out, keep up. And I was like, no, like, you've seen me try to grow hair, right? And she said she'll make me a breakfast smoothie every day. There were some people questioning what smoothie actually meant.
I
It
saw
literally is a smoothie. Mm-hmm. She's making me a smoothie. Like, that's what
They thought it was code word.
But I've been getting lots of smoothies over the course of it's coming up on a month. I just want to experience all the things that happens with the mustache. Like, I want to get a little food stuck in there. You know, I just randomly, just groom it and it feels good.
See, I can't do. I've done just the mustache. I can't do it. I have to have a beard.
It's got to be the whole thing.
Yeah,
you can grow a beard in like a day.
Yeah. If I don't, it grows in, and that's because of the military. Until the military, I didn't really grow facial hair, but they make you shave every single day.
Do you really think that makes a difference?
I think it does. I've
seen conflicting.
Does anybody know the scientific science behind that? Because I don't know, but I feel like once I started shaving daily, then all of a sudden my facial hair started growing faster.
It's possible. I must have Googled something about doing something along those lines. Now I'm getting ads of all sorts of products. They're like, oh, you want to make your
like,
beard thicker? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm not going to buy yours.
What's that? Was it the hair? Was it Bosley? Like that old hair product?
There's tons of stuff out there. But let us know in the comments, does Braydon keep the stash or does it go? You know what? I don't even care. I'm going to keep it. Don't even comment. Yeah. I don't even care. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to keep it for a little bit until I decide.
Until you guys make fun of him enough.
Aaron had a heyday with, did you see his?
Yeah, well, I did.
The edit and then his reel that he made of it. Forget the movie.
Go watch that hybrid video. That was a good one. I like that format. And it seems like a lot of people like it.
Yeah.
It's short. It's a lot of information. Comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I pumped through 6 paddles in 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And this one was different. So I did like a standard one, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago now. That was more of a look back. This was more of a review of current hybrids that have come out in the last couple of months. And so it was a different take on, doing a mass review. And I'm going to keep refining it. I think this is a good format, whether it just be comparisons, maybe down the road. Once more of these floating cores come out, just do 6 of the most popular floating cores and just do a head-to-head comparison and just kind of crown my favorite kind of deal. But I think this is a good format. I think it makes sense, especially with just the volume of paddles.
I was going to say the speed of releases, like to tough. Do a proper one paddle review takes up so much time that then you have a huge backlog of paddles.
Yeah, and then it builds up so fast. And I've always been one to... I test the paddle very thoroughly. I'll drill. I'll play with it for a solid 2 weeks. I put a lot of hours onto it before I do the review. And when you do it that thoroughly, then it gets backed up even quicker, because if I were to review all of the major releases, even I would have to play with the paddles for 3-4 days, then move on.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's fair to give a paddle not enough time to give it, because like a paddle changes over time. You have to get used to it. You can't just go hit it and say, oh, this is my final opinion. We're going to share some first impressions today of some paddles that we just barely tried.
Yeah.
But that's it. Like their first impressions and our opinions
and my opinion,
change over time.
I was like, my opinion on some of these paddles we're talking about actually changed during my session, because I put some weight on it, and I so like from hitting it the first hit just to the end of the session, it changed.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's important to put some time on them when you're reviewing them. All right, next thing I have for the weekly update. This was kind of random, like just out of the blue. So I have the retail website, right? Pickleballeffectshop.com. We got a message. Someone had just submitted a message through that website that claimed to be Catherine Parenteau's agent, who said, hey, we're looking for a grip sponsor. And I was like, wait, is this real? Is this like some elaborate scam to get some free grips or something?
Isn't her wife her agent?
No, it was, I forget the name of the agency, but it was an agency. And so, we did some research on the dude. Like,
real guy.
The email was real. The dude seemed real. Everything checked out. So we're like, all right, sure. We'll send you some grips. And we also have tungsten. And so they're open to try out the tungsten too. So we're sending that to Catherine.
Sweet.
She's going to try them out. I don't know where that's going to go. We're working with an agent. It's going to cost money, obviously, if we do some sort of partnership. I don't even know what a partnership looks like with a person of that level.
I don't know.
Within the pro world,
I don't know, because I do know, I have talked to other companies that are like smaller, like grip. It's harder to pay pros cash because your margins on that aren't huge.
No, margins for the tungsten and grips are super small.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's
really
not like a paddle. Like there's a lot more margin built into a paddle.
And there's not a lot of visibility. For example, the tungsten doesn't have my logo on it. It's just sleek black.
Yeah.
If you see it on TV, you would never say, "Oh, that's Braydon stuff."
Exactly.
Unless they post about it. There'd have to be some sort of agreement where they talk about it on social or something along those lines, rather than just relying on
visibility
TV coverage, right? Anyways, that was out of the blue.
That's cool.
We'll see what that turns into. I don't know. It'll be fun just to see what they propose.
Yeah.
And so I'll post you guys, keep everyone updated on that, because that'll be an interesting one. Next one was a carbon fail. So we did carbon. Kyle and Garrett flew in this week, right? I bought the couch and the new chair, trying to make everything look decent, and I returned everything. I feel like a dirtbag.
Oh, you returned all that stuff?
Yeah. I know. You guys are all gonna hate me, but that's what I did. That is what I did.
Did you buy it from Costco?
The couch is from Target.
Okay.
That was just the one that was the right color that matched the chair I had.
That's so funny.
Yeah. I feel really bad about it, but that's what it is. Anyway, so we get the setup, get the audio. I test everything. I'm really pumped. I borrowed your camera, so we have 3 angles.
Yep.
So I have 2 of my own. You have your own that you bring in. And I'm more familiar with my cameras, right? So the first mistake I made was I should have made the 2 most important angles with the cameras that I'm familiar with.
100%.
So I had the main angle, my FX30, that was the best camera I have, and that worked. And then I had my second camera on me, and then I put your camera on them because yours is nicer than my second. So my idea was, let's put the next
nicest camera on
them. So I put it on them, and we do the shoot. I send them home. I upload the footage. I send it to Aaron. I thought I had everything. I thought I had the audio. I thought I had the video. I was like, everything recorded. He's like, yes, I did it. Good job, Braydon. And then Aaron's like, bro, everything was great other than the camera that was on Kyle and Garrett. There was a plant in between them, and the camera focused on the plant, and so Kyle and Garrett were blurry. So that was a bummer. That footage is unusable, and you're always learning. I've made worse mistakes. Like it's still going to work. The interview's going to be great. We still have the 2 angles, but from what I understand, is there's multiple autofocus modes. Yours was on center.
Yeah, there's focus areas.
Yeah, focus areas,
and you can change the sensensitivity. There's all kinds of things.
So I didn't mess with that. I either needed to up the aperture, right?
You should have just checked it before you press record.
Yeah,
because it shouldn't have. You could have kind of set and you can set the focus before you even do it, so it won't change.
Just no,
there's a couple different ways.
There's a couple different ways I could have fixed it, and I just didn't recognize it because on the mini screen of the camera, it looks fine.
Oh, it did
right?
look focused.
And I mean, it was just being quick. You know, they were in and out, and anyways, that was a bummer. So learning experience there. I'm not a camera nerd, but I'm learning more and more. I remember when I went to the Yoli event. This is a year ago now. I had just got the FX30, and I did some interviews with all their pros, and the footage was just straight garbage. The audio was horrible. I had like some new DJI mics that I was using, and it was my first experience using real equipment out in the wild. I had never even done an interview or filmed anything. I just barely got it. I was like, here we go. We're using it.
We're going for it.
And it was just trash. So I've come a long way since then. Certainly not a nerd, but I'm getting my way around, and it'll get better and better. But that was a bummer because that was a big video. But it'll still be good. The content's still good. They did great. I'm going to publish that on the 30th when that paddle comes out.
People are going to be watching that for what they say, not for what they look like.
Yeah, but you want it to look good.
I know.
But at least the audio came in clean and smooth. That's, probably the most important thing. Yeah. Camera's second.
Was there screaming children?
No, we banned the family from the house for that one.
We sent them to another state.
They're out in the, what do we call it, the main room right now, and you won't hear much today. No. It's just when you get lots of kids in together. Yeah. In particular, Cooper, dude.
Yeah, if you're a new viewer, we are fathers. We have 5 children under the age of 6.
Yeah,
I mean, and my son is very loud.
Cooper he'll get up in your face and just
he gets
acts like he can't hear you. You can't hear him. Yeah. He's so good, dude. I love Cooper. All right. That was my carbon felt. All right, last bullet here is, so USAP is doing a media day. They sent us emails inviting us to go to Maryland.
2 weeks
notice. So this was early in the week. They invited us really, really quick. They're wanting media folks to come out to their, what do you call it? Their
testing lab.
Yeah. Testing lab, which is in Maryland. I think their headquarters is in Austin, I want to say, in Texas.
Is it in Texas or is it in Arizona?
Arizona? Maybe Arizona.
I thought it was Arizona.
Yeah, it might be Arizona.
But that's the lab. The lab that does all the testings in Maryland.
Is in Maryland. These are the people they contracted to do the PB core tests, the spin tests, and all that stuff. So they invited some people out. I don't know. I imagine they just hit all the podcasters.
I think so.
Which is good. I don't think they've ever done anything like this before.
No, so they had reached out to me on Instagram about a month ago asking if they could put me on like a media relations type thing.
Get on like a list.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're obviously listening to the podcast and realizing that we talk a lot of trash about how they're not transparent.
Well, not just trash, just news in general, right?
So they're wanting to get us involved, which I love.
I mean, at the moment, the news channels are podcasters. You have Pickleball TV. They don't really cover a lot of this stuff.
No.
You have some blogs from some websites that cover some of it, but most of it's podcasters.
Yeah. And a few newsletters.
Yeah. And so that was exciting. I'm going to go to that.
You are going to go?
Mm-hmm. I decided I'm going to go. I don't know if I'll ever get another chance to witness what they're doing. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be interesting to be there, see the test in person, ask questions. They're going to give you opportunities to talk with the CEO, CTO, those guys, potentially do interviews. I don't think I'm going to shoot anything while I'm there. I just want to be there, experience it, soak it in, educate, learn while I'm there, and not so much worry about content.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a quick turnaround. It's on a Friday. I'm just going to fly in Thursday night. The event is from 8 to noon and then fly out that afternoon. So it'll be quick.
Yeah. A lot of flying. And flights from Boise to Maryland are horrible. They're not cheap and they're long.
There are some around between 300 and 400, so not horrible, but
round trip?
Just nothing direct. Yeah, nothing direct. Lots of layovers, just long travel days. Yeah. I hate traveling, dude. It's the worst. Sitting in airports, nothing makes me grumpier.
Yeah.
Okay, 3-0 to 5-0 this is me today. So we're going to talk about bridging the gap from rec play to tournament. I see this all over the place of, I play so good, so loose in rec play. And then I go to a tournament and I just don't perform at the same level. I tighten up. And this was a big challenge I had last year. So I started traveling to more tournaments, feeling a little more pressure at tournaments, not performing to the level I thought I was capable of. And it's so frustrating because you spend so much money on these. Tournaments are expensive, the travel, and then you want to play your best. You want to compete. You want to hang. And then towards the end of last year, it was actually a local tournament where I was able to make a mental switch to where I started playing much better in events, just period, whether it was local or traveling. And the first one, it was just this shift, mindset shift of you belong. I remember it was the Boise Open. It was at S2. We played the first 2 games. We barely lost. And I just felt like I was playing timid. I wasn't playing for my shots, playing a little defensive, just wasn't playing like me. And I was just so mad at myself. And I just said, look, Braydon, you belong here. You can compete. Stop acting like you're not good enough.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And so I just made this shift in my mind, and I stepped on the court saying, I belong. I can be here. I can win these. And just immediately started playing so much better and playing more confident, just going for my shots that I normally get, like going big on returns, going big serves, looking for flicks and offense, and not playing so timid and defensively. And when you tighten up, you know, your shots kind of tighten up. It just causes issues. And so just shifting to believing in myself, telling myself that I belong, that I can compete here. I know I'm good enough, just transformed that like transition from rec to
I love that.
tournament. So that was big. And then another one that I think is really important is self-talk and partner talk. That Nick Wade, who I won the Moneyball with a week or 2 ago, he's one of the best like partner talk type people I've played with. And the phrase he uses a lot is me and you. And I love this. We'll get into a tight situation, and he's like, all right, Braydon, let's do this. Come on, me and you, let's go. And just implying that we're doing this together. We're a team. Let's go win. It's not one or the other. If one person makes a mistake, it's okay. And so I started using that phrase, and I love that phrase of me and you. Let's do this together. We're a partnership. We're going to win. It's not one or the other. And so viewing your partner as a partner, talking to them that way, and just being positive with your partner. So I've seen this a couple times now where you're in a group of 4. Sometimes there's one weaker person, and you get that weaker person on your team, and some people shut down a little bit. They're like, well, I'm going to lose this. Let's just get over.
They throw in the towel.
Throw in the towel. And so just this week, there's a couple of scenarios I had that way, and I made just an attempt to be more positive with them, let them participate, let them get involved, celebrate their wins, and almost trying to instill in them that they feel like they belong, they can compete. And so just being overly positive with their good shots, encouraging them makes a huge difference. You can see their demeanor change versus when you're playing against them of someone who's rolling their eyes, gets mad, not mad, but you can tell that they're like, you missed that easy one. And I do that sometimes. Like a couple of weeks ago on Friday, we were playing, and I kind of did that to you a little bit, and I felt dumb. I was like, Kyle, you missed easy ones or like an easy dink. And I felt myself getting frustrated at you, and we didn't play very good that day. And then that next week, we played a lot better. And
that was like night and day difference.
Yeah, it was night and day difference. And I think that effort to be more positive of saying it's okay to make mistakes, we're going to win this together, it makes a huge difference. And so that's my tip for 3-0 to 5-0. Just self-belief, self-talk, and partner talk are all super important, and will help bridge the gap in rec and moving up to tournaments. Okay, Kyle's Corner.
Okay, so for Kyle's Corner, I mainly have some news. First order, so Flying Pickle has announced their next location. So for you guys that are new, Flying Pickle is our 18-court indoor facility.
It's so nice, dude.
It is. It's definitely it's one of the nicest facilities I've been to, and I've been to quite a few now. They are moving to a location in Tri-Cities, and it's going to be a ground up project. So they're actually going to build the building. Cool. Whereas here they found like a warehouse and fitted it out with courts, but it'll be built ground up to be a pickleball facility. So if you guys are in the Tri-Cities out in Washington, that'll be something to watch for.
Yeah, I read the article on that. Early 2026 is when they're shooting to open that.
Yep. That's pretty soon when you think about they're going to build the building.
Yeah. No, it's super fast. But Flying Pickle's doing it a little bit different. When a lot of the other places I've been to, it's tight. It's more of like a gym style where you walk in, you walk out, you're there to play pickleball. It's not built around community. There's some places that are built around the community better, and it's just a better layout. The Flying Pickle is definitely built to foster the community more. There's hangout areas. There's a kitchen. So there's that aspect. And plus, the courts are just bigger. They space them out nice. They have a couple of championship courts. There's not these tiny hallways in between the courts.
No, it's nice and roomy with tables.
So they did such a fantastic job with the build here, and they've garnered a strong reputation within the community of indoor places. A lot of people are trying to replicate and follow some sort of model that they're doing.
Yeah. I've had people reach out and ask questions about Flying Pickle of people that are opening up their own spots. And I mean, there's a wait list now for memberships.
Yeah.
So like they don't.
They capped out memberships, which I'm so glad they did, because it's hard to get a court now.
It's tough.
You have to book either 4 or 5 days
either
in
early,
advance.
or you got to book like late at night or early in the morning, because basically from
prime hours are gone.
Essentially 8 or 9 a.m. till 5, it's packed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a stark difference from a year ago.
Yeah.
It's
you used to be able to wake up
so
and be
much.
like, I want to play at noon.
Yeah, not anymore. Yeah, you got to plan. I've started just blocking off 2 hours of when I can play, and then just finding people later.
Yeah, that's smart.
Because it's difficult to find 4 and then go pick a court.
Yep.
Just snag a court
and then fill it.
Fill it in. But that's cool that they're expanding. Plus, Pickleball Effects stuff is in the shop, so
it is.
We're gonna
it's actually been another shop.
We're making another shop there in Tri Cities. You can go get your tungsten tape and grips.
I like it.
In Tri Cities.
Another big news. This one's pretty sad though. Along with all the litigation going on in pickleball, so Bobby Riggs, which is a big facility in California. I don't know if you know much about Bobby. That's for the Dawsons.
Yeah, that's the Dawsons place.
Yeah.
That used to be. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was
big tennis.
Big
place.
tennis.
Yep.
Converted pickleball.
Yep. So they have 22 courts, pickleball courts.
It's a lot. All outdoor, I think.
Yep.
And it's a club style, right?
Yeah, it is a club style. They're being shut down because of noise. So they have to go. They're threatening to shut it down completely. And there's going to be. It might be tomorrow. So if you're in California, I think there's a town meeting. I think it's tomorrow. And I want to say is it Encinitas. I'm not sure exactly which city it is, but there's a town meeting for it because they want to shut it down due to noise. So they've gone from 22 courts down to 7
to reduce noise.
That's
wild. I've never been there. Have you played there?
No.
So I don't know what the
I want to next time I go
is around it.
Next time I go down there, I'm planning on it.
Oh, you are?
But it said that the lawsuit, like the people pushing for it, it's actually developers around it are pushing to have it shut down. So I don't know if they're building apartments
because they're having a hard
it
time finding people to come in because it's louder or something.
Because it's noisy.
It's unattractive that way.
So my question with that though is like, because we're seeing this, I feel like every week I'm reporting on some kind of news that like,
yeah, I mean, we had a local one.
Thing. Like, is it time? Like, is noise going to kill the sport? Like, should we be actually investing into quiet equipment that plays like real pickleball?
Or maybe indoor facilities is part of the answer, because you're just not going to hear the noise with indoor. Outdoors, even when you put up sound barriers on the fences, it still gets out.
Yeah, it still gets out.
Has to be enclosed to really do any difference there.
Yeah, so that's pretty sad because that's a big. I know it's like a big facility.
I mean, there's been investments obviously in paddles. Those just haven't really picked up. Partly because the rules are different for quiet paddles, and
they don't play like a real the Hush. Like the Hush is a rocket launcher.
Yeah, it's just not fair, right?
Yeah.
So maybe
the quiet balls
readjust that.
And the quiet balls are terrible.
Oh, they just don't play like a normal ball.
Yeah. So I'm just curious if we should see a shift soon into people like really spending money trying to make stuff quieter before we lose all our courts.
Yeah. And in places like California, indoor facilities are just so expensive.
Yeah.
It's probably way cheaper to own the land, have outdoor rather than the indoor, just because rent and whatever is probably way more.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what the lease on something like that would be.
That's crazy. That's probably the highest profile place that's been hit
with noise. I think so.
That's wild. Yeah, it's obviously an issue. It's been talked about for years.
I know.
Since the inception of pickleball.
But I feel like we're exponentially seeing more lawsuits.
Just because there's more courts, there's more action, right?
Yeah, more people.
So we're going to see more people getting mad about the noise. Interesting. Yeah, we're going to have to address that. All right, paddle, babble, and gear.
Lots of paddles.
Lots going on here. Okay, let's first talk about solid foam cores. So True Foam, the carbon True Foam is a solid foam core paddle. Yep. This is known now. This paddle, Carbon announced that they're releasing it on the 30th. Do yourself a favor, go pick up a Carbon 2. It's nice. I like it.
I only have the Carbon 1. Everybody's asked me, like, what's your favorite? I'm like, I only have the 1, so I can only tell you how the 1 is. But
well, you like it?
I like the 1. That's all. Like, but I was like, all the other guys like the 2, so the 2 must be good.
I like to, and I've always favored that shape anyways, but I do think this technology in particular plays better in the two. And we'll talk about more the details there when that comes out. They don't want us to do first impressions of playability and whatnot until
it's released.
Until it's released. So we're going to refrain from that. But what's interesting, the reason I bring this up is Carbon announces the 30th, and then I get an email that same day from Selkirk saying, "Hey, Braydon, guess what? 008 solid foam core paddle. Tell the world that we also have a solid foam core paddle." And it is releasing very shortly after.
Yeah, I already.
I don't know if they want me to say the date.
I already got an order that came through from them.
Yeah, we both have orders. It hasn't
shipped yet. No, but the orders came through.
So we don't have those on hand yet, but they're making that in several shapes.
Invicta, Tor, and Epic.
Is Tor a new shape?
So Tor is the more. I talked to Dom. He said it's more like the rounded engaged type shape. So it's like the rounded.
Like their old school Maxima?
Kind of like the Maxima, I think.
Do you remember the Maxima?
I do. That was Susanna's paddle. I didn't like that shape. My favorite shape was always the Mach 6, but.
Yeah, since then, I think we've discovered that typically squarish shapes perform better just because that improves stability. And if the paddle's too rounded on top, it can weaken those top corners. Yep. And so what you lose in stability and gain in maneuverability probably isn't worth the trade-off.
Yeah.
But so a lot of paddles now that do have the curve, it's upper and steeper. Yep. It's not a huge The Maxima had a pretty big curve, and so
it would look like it mimicked a tennis racket almost.
Like, yeah, that might be a little excessive where you do see negative benefits. But then there's a lot of paddles. At the 6-year double black diamond, I don't think is a big deal.
Yeah.
That has that more rounded. You just have to be careful with it. But then, another one is the Neonic Flow. That shape is pretty rounded, and that one has a noticeable reduction in stability. And so you can lose performance there if you're not careful. Anyways, that's a Tor. I haven't seen that one yet. I don't know what it's going to look like. But they're coming out with a solid foam core. We don't really know much outside that it's a solid foam core.
No. I know of 3 other brands that are also coming with foam cores this year, too.
Oh, you do?
So,
and can you say them?
No. But I'm just saying it is going to be the year of foam cores. There is going to be a lot of solid foam cores coming this year.
Someone asked a question in the Q&A that we're going to dive into there, but they asked if foam cores are going to replace Gen 3 paddles. Short answer is yes, but we'll talk about that in the Q&A. So Selkirk is really big on this. The reason I know is because we have 2 sponsored Selkirk people here. You have Joe and I guess you have 3. Joe, Lucas, and Mariana, they all have 008s already. So they didn't even have to pay for them. Normally, those low-level sponsored people...
Yeah, they just get like a deal.
They get a deal, or they get so much money to spend on paddles per year or whatever. Yeah. From what I understand, when I was talking to Joe, he said they just sent them.
Oh, nice.
It didn't credit or go towards their other stuff. They just want this paddle in their hands, and they already have them. They're playing with them. Plus, Selkirk... pulled that little 008 stunt
at the Masters.
Masters, where every single pro had to play with it, even though all their other paddles were approved. And so Selkirk is very big on this tech. And this is a shift in Selkirk. Like, when has Selkirk been ahead of the curve?
Never.
Yeah. This is the first time in a long time Selkirk is ahead of the curve.
They've been in the kitchen cooking and not letting us know.
Yeah. And what's fascinating to me, one of the things that came out of the Carbon interview I did was they've been developing this for a very long time. They actually had the prototype and concept of the paddle they wanted to make they've had that in hand for quite some time, and the bottleneck to getting it out was working with their manufacturers in China to get the systems, tools, training in place to make the paddles, and that's what delayed them. So they had to invest in equipment, they had to invest in all sorts of things to get this out the door, which makes me think, how in the world is Selkirk already doing that?
They must have been working on it too.
Are they? Yeah, either they've been working on this for a long time too, or maybe they're in the same factory investing in the same equipment. I don't know.
That could be too.
And so this is tricky. And
it'll be interesting to x-ray them side by side and see if the cores are very similar.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Carbon does have some intellectual property around the material and the core design.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say these things, but that's a small amount. we'll stop there. I guess you're going to learn a lot about these true foams. It's really interesting and exciting, not only in performance, but just in R&D capabilities and performance possibilities for paddles. It's a big step forward in innovation, and I'm really excited about it. Which is why I'm going all in on that like interview and other things. And anyways, foam cores seem to be catching on already before they're even released. Sounds like there's others.
There's a couple
in the mix. And so there's a lot to learn here still, because this is such a new territory, and we're gonna have to learn let's learn more about foam, because foam is such a wide category. There's lots of different type of foams, different densities. And so how those things interact and perform with different facing and different designs, we're gonna have to learn a lot. And this is very early on. And so it's gonna be, could be fun.
Could be a disaster too. I've talked to some people that are like, foam expands under heat, and
some foams, not all foams.
No, not all foams.
If you use the right stuff, it won't do that to you.
We'll see.
And there's potentially other benefits if you do that. Anyways, lots more to come about foam, because it seems to be the hot topic for brands who are trying to get ahead of the curve.
The year of foam.
Okay, next bullet point here is about the Gearbox delay launch of the Ultimate 14.
Boo.
So going back a couple of weeks ago, there was the delistings of the Gearbox and the Black Aces. Gearbox quickly announced that they have a new paddle coming out. We've talked about this. This was the Gearbox Ultimate 14, presumably to be the replacement for the Power Pro elongated that was delisted. So Gearbox was on top of it. They had these units shipped out quick to people.
Obviously too quick.
Yeah. So we all get them, and we all measure them at a 128 swing weight. We all get in our podcasts, and we're like, this is too heavy. Like, cool that you're coming out with this, but it's tough to customize. I don't think too many people are going to get it, and then are going to like it. Then the next week, I get an email from Gearbox saying, hey, we have delayed the launch to March. So it was originally going to be January 15th, which is come and gone. And so they delayed the launch to March. I get another Gearbox in the mail.
Weird.
I didn't know about.
Weird.
I throw it on the swing weight machine, and it comes in at 123. So they made some adjustments to the weight.
Just 5 points lighter. Must have been
I mean, 123 is still on the heavier side, but is manageable. Like, it can be used. 128 is just too much.
Yeah, you put weight. I mean, any weight you put on it, and you're over 130.
Yeah. And to give you an idea, for 5-point swing weight changes is very noticeable. Anybody can pick up a 120 and a 115 swing weight paddle and tell a difference immediately.
Absolutely.
123 gets a little hairier of telling the difference between two paddles. If you've played with enough paddles and you're sensitive enough, you can tell the difference between 2-3 points. When you add weight, say you add 3-4 grams on the top corners, where I typically like to add weight, you're adding about 3 swing points.
Yep.
If you do that, and you can feel that, though it's not outrageous. And so this is a significant enough drop where it feels lighter. I haven't hit the new one yet. I was like, it's March. I'm going to,
I got time.
I got other stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
So I gave you the heavy one.
Yeah.
Did you play with it much?
I did. It's heavy. I don't know. Gearbox is like, they're fun to like rip some drives with, but like they're just not my paddle for like the way I like to play. I don't play very well with them. I do think like I think an older lady that needs power, I think Gearbox is great. Like I think they can, but that one's kind of heavy to swing.
Yeah.
So it's,
and I didn't think the power was as immediate as the Pro Powers. Did it break in some? Did it change?
Not enough where I felt it.
Not enough yet.
Yeah.
I mean, how many hours do you think you put on it?
It probably has 10 games on it.
It probably needs more work
Yeah.
done. Anyways, there's an update on Gearbox. Okay, let's talk Franklin C45.
Yeah.
People are still
Carbon 45. That's what
people are still talking about this Franklin. They want to know more. So John Q reported on some of the the paddle construction. We also talked with Ryan to get more information on the paddle construction. So tell us, okay. We had this call with Franklin scheduled last Friday.
Epic fail, Braydon.
We're both, dude, I'm just feeling all over the place. I didn't show up. You text me, 10 minutes in the meeting, like, yo, Braydon, you come in.
I was like, you hopping on this call? Or
I
what?
did text you back for about an hour later. So that was the same Friday morning. We had played it early morning. And I have a couple emails. I have a general Pickleball Effect one, and then I have my Braydon Pickleball Effect one. The calendar invite was sent to the general one, so it wasn't on the one I normally work off of. And so I spaced the meeting. I didn't think I had anything. And I was asleep. No. I slept. I passed out. Sorry, Ryan. My bad. But Kyle was there.
I was there.
So give us the deets on the construction of this paddle.
So what was different about it is they changed. So I'm going to explain it the best way that he explained it to me. They changed their process for thermoforming. To his knowledge, this is the first double thermoform paddle. I don't really know why the first thermoforming matters so much. So they take the poly and then the facing layers in a rectangle. And then this rectangle gets thermoformed. And then they cut.
So they do connect the facing sheets to the seam?
He was basically, so he was saying basically they lay the facing layers, the polypropylene, the honeycomb core, and then the facing layers and in a big rectangle. And then that, he's supposed to show me slides later. So this is just off what he's told me. And they thermoform that rectangle. So that gets sealed.
No foam yet?
No foam yet.
Okay.
So just like that. It gets sealed into a rectangle. Then they cut out 4 paddles from that rectangle. Like 4 faces, basically.
So the seam is gone.
Exactly. So, okay.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. So then he says they cut 4 paddles from that rectangle. And then they have a CNC machine that comes in from the side of this is the paddle.
Can you explain what a CNC machine is?
Well, just like
I had to look it up. I didn't know what it was. I'm not a machinist.
It basically, you can give it coordinates and it'll route stuff out. So it's like it's computer.
I imagine like a 3D printer kind of situation.
It's like a computer aided, like you can cut. Man, look up what it actually stands for.
A computer aided incision or cut.
Yeah, it's
exact. It's precise.
It's very precise.
Okay.
And it's all and it takes the paddle horizontally.
Okay.
And it'll actually route around the paddle from the side.
Huh.
And it's cutting out the channel. So originally we thought the channels were going to be cut. We were thinking
in the middle of the core.
Yeah, we were thinking like some of the other paddles that are doing that with the foam. But what it's doing is it's routing around the side 2 channels for foam. So it's dual foam, but it's so precise that it's not breaking any of the cells on that outer side.
Fascinating.
Because
okay.
I know we've cut open plenty of paddles, and sometimes on the side, like there'll be like half cells from being broken.
Mm-hmm.
So it's precisely cut so it doesn't actually break any of the cells on the outer rim.
And I would think that this also improves consistency of the foam that's injected. When I have X-rayed paddles, sometimes you'll have thicker foam spots than others. Mm-hmm. So it's a little inconsistent around I don't know if that's a huge deal because the foam is so light.
Yeah.
But there are spots that are different.
Thicker foam, yeah. And that's what he said their goal was to be consistent and then not break the outer cell because that'll increase
increase structure,
exactly,
rigidity, almost
longevity of the paddle, etc.
Okay.
Then it's thermoformed. Then it's injected with foam, thermoformed again. And then it has that little metallic edge guard. The metallic is painted. I chipped mine up already.
Yeah, mine chipped up pretty good too.
I was pretty sad.
It was a little bit. It looks really cool.
It does look good, and now it's like yellow, and I'm like, no.
So to add to what you just said, I also followed up with Ryan in an email just asking what the facing layup and cell size was. So they're using 8mm cells, 3 layers of carbon fiber, no fiberglass. I thought maybe there was some fiberglass in there when I played with it, but there's not. It's 3 layers of carbon fiber, and then just your typical 8mm cells. Okay, now I played with it last night for the first time. I believe you played with it a bunch Saturday. Saturday.
2 nights ago.
All hype or pure fire?
So for Franklin, it's the best Franklin that I've played with. But stock, I played terrible.
All hype or pure fire?
Oh man, I'm not gonna say all hype.
This is pretty. So it's good. But
I like it.
Maybe not. Everyone should go buy this right now.
If you like Franklin, I do think everybody should buy it. Like if you are
the best Franklin paddle
to me by far.
Okay.
I played great with it. I don't like it.
Actually, I'll talk about my experience in a minute. But yeah, I did. Okay. Tell them first impressions. Hit us with them.
Okay, so it's very light. It is
7.6, 7.7 average.
So I played with a stock, which I knew that I probably wouldn't love it because I don't play with very light paddles. But I wanted to hit it stock first, and it was a little.
It's pretty flimsy.
Yeah, it didn't. Once I weighted it up though,
Changes it.
I was getting great shape. The power, I wouldn't say I'm not. To me, it's not Yola power at all, but it's good power.
Yeah.
And it's not super forgiving, but it's definitely way more forgiving than the featherweight 12 was, like by far.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's like the world's largest sweet spot, but I wouldn't also call it tiny either.
Yeah. So I just slapped weight on it initially. I was
like before you even hit it.
I knew it was gonna be trash.
You didn't even try it
spot wise.
Yeah.
No. Now I was a bad reviewer and I just threw weight on it immediately. So I threw 4 grams on the bottom corners, and well, I did hit the paddle stock just against walls, getting a feel for it, and adding weight changes the feel, improves it in my opinion. And even with that weight, it still wasn't a great sweet spot, but it was certainly good enough. But it still felt light and maneuverable, even with 4 grams. So the stock swing weight is 106. It's very light.
That's very light.
Very light. The twist weight was pretty low too. What was it? I want to say it was under 6, which makes sense since it's so light and a 14 millimeter. It was 5.6. So really low twist weight. I didn't remeasure those after I added the weight, but after adding the weight, I didn't feel like the sweet spot was necessarily holding me back. Though there were moments when I cut the top 2 corners that felt weaker. But yeah, it wasn't bad with the weight. Okay, continue.
Oh, I like it has a nice, satisfying deep thud. Like I actually really like that feel.
The feel was kind of odd.
It is.
How do you describe it?
Man, I don't know. Like it's not plush.
No.
But then it's not crisp either. It's like a weird.
It's a hollow, thuddy.
I mean, almost like this table. Like it's like a weird like thud.
It's different.
I don't know. I like it though. Like when you make contact, it feels good.
At first, I didn't like it,
especially
without the weight. And then I put it some weight. I actually played really bad my first couple of games with it.
So did I.
But then down, later in the day, I was switching in between paddles as I was testing it. But my second session with it, I couldn't miss.
Yeah, no,
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
My drives felt really clean. It was low. They had some oomph. Some good shape.
Yeah.
My drops and resets were there. I found it pretty quick.
Yeah,
which was interesting. And I started to like the feel, though I didn't like it at the same time. I don't know. It's really strange. The only thing that comes to mind is almost the feel of a cheaper aluminum paddle.
Oh, really?
It was what it kind of gave me, which is this strange, but it's.
I'd have to go back and I haven't hit an aluminum paddle in years.
me either, but for some
Franklin
reason,
makes
that's what kind of came to me is this little like tingy aluminumness to it. Nicer than what you're going to get from Walmart, but that was the sensation it kind of gave me. A little hollower, but it is at the same time a deeper, thuddy.
Yeah, I liked the sound.
Feel. I don't even know how to describe it. It's different on the feel.
It's definitely different. So somebody asked me like play wise what I thought it felt the most like, and it was really hard for me to think. But the closest thing I could think of was like my 16 millimeter original Scorpius that was a Gen 3. Like that was like the closest thing I could think of that even felt remotely.
Yeah, it's
a different one.
It's different. I'm sorry we can't explain it better.
It is Franklin's best paddle.
But you're right. You're right on the power pop. Like it's good, but it's not over the top.
No, yeah.
You're not blown away by that.
Which I appreciate. Like the power's there, but it's not like unusable where I'm just like I didn't spray any in the back wall.
Yeah. So for example, I also played the Flamingo during the same play session. That one I couldn't tame immediately. I had to put it down, and I knew that was when I got to go drill and get a feel with before I could just start playing games. The Franklin, after 3, it was my 3rd, 4th game when I started playing well with it. I started playing with it in games without drilling. Yeah. So that kind of speaks to its controllability, I guess. And so it's interesting.
It's good, I think.
And it must be the CNC cut that makes it feel different because it's just a 3 carbon fiber.
Yeah, so I mean it's weird that it feels so different, and then if you like look at it on paper, it's kind of a standard, like it's
thermo.
It's kind of like with dual foam walls.
With dual foam walls. Yeah. So pretty fascinating. So We'll put more time in that. When is that getting released?
Next month, one shape, and then March, the rest of the shapes and different thicknesses.
February 1st is when that one comes out.
Yeah. And that'll be just the hybrid. And then March, you're going to get...
So we were playing with the C45, which is a hybrid 14 millimeter. Yep. That's the one coming out February 1st.
So I think they're all going to be called C45.
Oh, okay.
So C45's...
So that's the series name.
Yeah, carbon 45, and it's because of the 45-degree angle of the carbon.
Okay. Yeah, I'll keep playing with that. I'm sure you will too. I'll put together a little write-up as my thoughts develop and I get a better sense of
retail will be $220 before code.
$220. Yep.
So most expensive Franklin paddle that's ever been released.
Yeah, a little bit of a jump there, which is fascinating. This is just an interesting paddle.
Yeah,
it's just different, and I like different. I think different's good. Some sort of way to stand out. All right, next paddle. Let's talk Flamingo for a second because I mentioned it.
The Flamingo.
So this is Proton Flamingo. This is the Quebacle paddle. I said Quebacle last episode on accident, and it was perfect.
It was.
You couldn't. I'm not funny on purpose. No. I'm only funny on accident.
Oh, I love that. That was great.
So that was the Quebacle paddle. It Gen 3. It's a Gen 3 style from my understanding. I don't know all the specifics on it, but it's Gen 3 style. Not all Gen 3s play the same. Some are more all chordy, some are more power. This one is one of the more power oriented. I would say it's more 3 SE type power initial thoughts versus maybe an 11.624 power series. And so I just played one game with it. It's not quite as hollow as a lot of the Gen. It's a little crisper, which I personally like. I'm not crazy about that hollow feel a lot of the times. Other than the Franklin I somehow connected with, and it has that hollow feel. But anyways, that one has a little more. I had to set it down. I'm going to have to go spend more time. I'm going to have to go drill with that one to get a feel for it. But it's a little bit heavier. I think 121 swing weight. Did you play with that one?
I did.
What were your initial thoughts?
Definitely felt... Well, it makes sense now that because I played it with the Franklin. Now that the Franklin was 106, it makes a lot of sense that the Proton felt really heavy.
Felt so heavy.
But no, you could hit. It was leaps and bounds better than the original Series 3.
Yeah, the Series 3 was kind of almost just, it was just meh. It was kind of muted.
Yeah.
I
felt like it was very
2.
basic. And then this feels good. I put a flick weight on the bottom because it did feel a little heavy. A grip because they have the most dangerous stock grip in Pickleball.
So slippery.
Proton, if you're watching this, I don't understand why your grip is going to kill somebody. They're so slick.
So slick.
Like if my hand was sweaty, it reminds me of that video where the partner goes to hit the ball and he throws the paddle into his
Was it a Proton?
face.
We should go look.
I don't know paddle, but like it's a pretty grip. Like it looks good.
Yeah, it's the hot pink.
Yeah, it's hot pink and it says Proton, but there's no way I could play with that. I'd go for an overhead and I'd throw it at the person across the net.
Like no joke though.
Yeah, no, it's slick.
It's so slick. You have to have an overgrip for it.
100% need an overgrip. So I gripped it, put the flick weight on the bottom, and then it just felt really solid. Resets were good. It was a little harder to keep in because I think I need some more time on it. I was ripping some balls. It is a good looking paddle, the pink, and some people think it's too busy.
Yeah, teach their own. I think it looks sharp. The handle's a little shorter.
Yep.
525.
Was it 525?
I feel shorter than that, but
I measured it, and I measured it, but I only had like a centimeter tape because at my work we don't measure stuff in inches.
Yeah.
And it was like 5.4 when I did like the conversion from where I measured, but I might have measured a little too high.
Oh, so it's longer than we thought.
So it was a little longer than what we thought.
It's definitely shorter than your most paddles. So, I mean, I have it taped up to the same length, but the handle kind of ends a little lower than the Franklin does, which is a 5.5. So the top of this handle ends here. The top of this one ends here. You can see that difference.
Oh, okay.
But when you wrap it up, it's probably 5.5-ish.
Yeah. I mean, I choked.
The Franklin's definitely steeper.
Yeah.
Than the bottom of the Flamingo. But I agree. It's definitely one of the more power styled Gen 3s. So I can see the attraction because all the Proton people are using this that I know.
Every one of them switched to it, and it makes sense. It competes. It competes with the Yola.
It has a strong twist weight too, so it's 6.8 for an elongated that's really strong. So, I mean, it has a higher swing weight of 121, but at least it's paired with a stronger twist weight. There's a lot of paddles, a lot of elongated actually, that have 120, 123, but still have a lower 6'4", 6'3", 6'0" twist weight. And so at least you're getting more forgiveness with the higher weight. And then you can, if you go customize it.
Yeah. So I didn't do any tungsten and I just did weight down here.
And it felt good?
And it felt good for me.
Yeah. That makes sense. Cause I don't think you would need the extra stability.
Yeah. I didn't feel like I did. I felt like I needed it there.
100% needed it on the Franklin.
But yeah, here I felt like it was already pretty solid. I just wanted a little bit lower balance point. So
dude, I'm still just trying to like articulate what this is, because my returns you could plow through, you could get some nice shape. I was hitting those really well. Yeah. The resets, it's still fastish, even with the weight. It still felt a little bit lighter. I hit a
couple nasty drops with it. So the spin's good. Did you run any numbers on it yet?
No, okay. I just played it. I had one of the sickest drives I've hit in a while with it. It was from the middle court. It landed maybe 2 feet past the kitchen, just really sharp angle by the dude, and just dropped in. I don't do that with a lot of paddles. Yeah. Maybe I just hit that one really good. Maybe part was the paddle. I don't know, but it was a great shot. And I just remember that shot.
I like it. These are two good. That's what I say. 2025 is going to be a good year for paddles with the True Foam and these two, and a lot of solid releases.
Yep. Last paddle I tested was the
TI Plus.
J2 TI Plus. So Honolulu just sent us boxes of paddles, dude.
Just like 8 paddles showed up at my door.
And then a week and a half later,
you got more.
The Plus models, they have a J2K Plus and a J2 TI Plus. So these are their floating core dual foam ones.
They didn't send me the Pluses.
Okay. So yeah, I played this one yesterday. Every dual foam seems to have some sort of different construction from paddle to paddle. This one has a carbon seam in between, or a carbon layer in between the foam and the core. So that's how they did this one. It was not as juicy as the Proton. It felt very similar to the 11624 Power. So it almost has this profile where it plays like an all court until you swing big and you can access some power to finish points and whatnot, which is how I describe the 11624 Powers that we'll get into more next week as kind of a preview for the launch date on those on February 7th. But yeah, they sent us so many paddles. So they have the J2 TI Plus. They have a new one. Oh, man. And what was weird is they didn't send any communication. They just showed up.
There wasn't even a note in the box.
I don't have I don't want to say a bad relationship. I just don't communicate with Honolulu a lot. And so I wasn't even sure who to email. I had some communications email from them in the past. I emailed that person, haven't heard back. A lot of the information I got about these, I asked other reviewers, so like Pickleball Type Dude and Pursuit. And so they have a J2 KC, which I believe is the carbon composite or fiberglass type layup. And then they have that in a couple colors. Then they're launching like a longer handle version, an X. So this is the XK. I think the X represents the longer handle for those who didn't like that. Though this kind of, I haven't played with it, but I feel like this would take away some of the magic of the J2 where it's super forgiving.
Oh, that is long. That's nice.
But part of the magic of this J2 shape is you have this, it seems as if it's the perfect handle length with a nice little flare that gives it that stability for the hybrid. And it's the stability in a hybrid that makes these special. And if you make the handle this long, it's going to take away some of the stability and some of the magic of this paddle. And so I don't know if I like the idea of the super long handle on these, and the magic of the J2 shape is in the original, but we'll go play those, find out. And then they have a couple other shapes. They have that crazy wide body one that's been making waves.
The J4.
Making waves, not in a good way. Just people joking about it, unfortunately. But it is a little goofy looking. I haven't hit that one yet.
I've played a few games.
Did you? What did you think of it? Was it tough to play with?
Yeah.
Just too short?
I missed a few. I would have to play to get used to it. I missed a few overheads thinking I was hitting sweet spot and I was just clipping the edge.
Yeah, I do think in my head, it seems like there would be diminishing returns. Standard wide body shapes, the typical 16x8 are super forgiving as it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense to go any wider to try to make that even more forgiving when it's already very forgiving, and then you lose reach where it matters more so than a 16 by 8 does.
They just wanted to try something different. I applaud them for that.
To me, Honolulu has this spray and pray approach where they're not necessarily, it doesn't seem like they're building a catalog intentionally, where you have brands like Chorus and 11624 who are building paddles to fit a power, all court control.
Like they have 3 shapes, and then
it's very well organized, easy to understand. Honolulu's just, here's a lot of paddles. Hopefully one lands and we can sell a lot of them.
I'd be curious of like how they keep, because they do all, like, we got like 8 different paddles at once. Like, how do you even stock correctly to know what's going to sell? Like, that'd be tough.
Yeah, stocking was going to be a nightmare for them. I mean, yeah, they do multiple colors now. They have the blue, the red. Now they're going to have, and it gets confusing. They have the KC, TI Plus, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not super easy to understand on their website. It's a little tricky to navigate and understand because the website's not the prettiest. It's not the best designed. And so it's tricky to get around it. And so, huge fan of the J2K. I think that shape is fantastic. It's nice that they're going to have all these options, but it is a bit confusing. If you're going to shop with Honolulu, I'd stick with the J2 shape and find that paddle configuration.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever facing layers you like. And stuff.
But you have to know your stuff to shop with them. You have to know what you like. You have to be a little bit of a nerd to understand what the differences are between the paddles, because it's difficult to discern that if you're new to the scene.
I think they've kind of put themselves in that scene, though. Like, I think they know that they're more for nerds.
Maybe.
I think.
Maybe.
Anybody I see locally that has one, I'm like, you must watch Braydon.
Or someone, because everyone gave that one.
Oh, that is true.
A lot of action at the end of the year. Okay, let's finish here. Oh, I just want to, last thing for Paddle, Babble, and Gear. There's a lot of paddle releases coming out. I'm just going to rip these off. If you're interested in any of these are dates. So Carbon True Foam is coming out 30th January. Rhombus Ripple R1, they announced this, I want to say this morning when we were recording this. Yep. The R1 is coming out on the 31st. Not the R2.
260, I think you said.
It's up there.
Yeah, I think it's 260.
Mid 200s.
Pretty sure it's 260.
I didn't write down the price. But just the R1 is approved. That's going to be a public release on the 31st, which all my reviews and stuff that I made like 2 months ago for this thing was for both of them. And I'm just thinking, what do I do now?
I know.
Maybe I'll do like a 1 minute review of something of just the R1.
Or just wait and include it in one of your roundups. Maybe.
I'll do that. So Rhombus Ripple R1 is coming on the 31st. Franklin C45 is February 1st, followed closely by the Selkirk Labs 008. 11624 Powers is February 7th. And then the Chorus Super Quartz got pushed back to February 11th. Okay, Q&A. First question, we got 4 questions we're talking about. The first one is from 9D's Dink Drop. Some of these names are great. These handles.
Yeah.
So his or hers question, with foam core paddles, are Gen 3 paddles going to sunset?
No, I think we'll still see the same dual foam that we're calling Gen 3, the dual foam walls. I think we'll still see that.
Yeah, we're still going to see a lot of that, though foam core replaces Gen 3 down the road.
Yes, probably.
I think foam core is a better construction style that gives you more playability possibilities.
Easier to tweak.
So no, not sunsetting immediately. They're going to be around for a minute. Though foam core, I think, will be the hot item for the year.
I think any brand that is like an innovator or we're going to see a lot of foam cores coming.
Yep. And I don't know if everyone's going to, I don't know. When I think Gen 3, Gen 2, it gives you an idea of how the paddle plays, but maybe we call this Gen 4 for foam cores. I just don't know if it's going to be the same across the board or if it's just going to be this smattering of control, power, all core. I have no idea. Okay, next question. AMC_0326. Why so much dislike for paddles that break in compared to softball bats? So I've voiced this a few times that I'm not a fan of paddles that break in. I think a little break in is fine and is normal. Carbon fiber is going to change a little bit as it gets repetition. Things are going to loosen up a little bit, and you should expect a little break-in performance difference. But when I think break-in as bad is when it's more than that subtle change.
Yeah. Like if it exceeds whatever, 5%.
Exceeds 5% or something. So one that comes to mind, one of the biggest culprits was the Gearbox Pro Powers when those first came out. They and I don't know if they ever really solved this. I kind of stopped following it after a while, but they just would break in so much. They get so powerful, very dramatic change. The Pickleball Apes is another one that has a fairly dramatic change with a break in after things loosen up or whatever.
Yeah.
So to me, one reason I don't like break in is this is not tested in the approval process. So a paddle could potentially break in beyond what they should be and play too hot. And it's not well documented of some of these break-ins of how far they go. It's inconsistent. Makes it difficult to describe a paddle because you and I might get the same paddle, but they break in differently. One goes further, maybe one's less, depending on how we play. And so you get these different performance characteristics. And I think break-in, to me, generally is a bad thing. And I see it as a failure, not a feature. I think a lot of brands didn't know what a break-in was. We started doing thermoforming when we did the Gearbox, and then all of a sudden they shifted their marketing and said, oh, this is intentional. We wanted them to break in, even though we didn't really know that was a thing until people started playing with them. And he says compared to softball bats. So I did a little research on softball bats. I know you're a softball guy. The approval process for softball bats includes the break-in. So there is a break-in period for softball bats. I guess after
I think it's like 100 hits or whatever.
100 hits or something, it reaches its peak or normal performance, and then over time,
so they're doing compression tests on them after they've already been hit.
Yeah, so they will go they actually call it a BB core. So it's the same test as PB core, but adapted for.
Yeah, so like on the bottom, you'll have a stamp and it'll say whatever because that actually just changed when I had stopped playing softball. U-Trip had changed to a new compression rate, like a new rating. So that number's stamped on the bottom, just like they're doing, just like Ripple put the 0.43 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason I dislike them is because it's inconsistent and it's not tested for, and we just don't know how far paddles will break in, and it can get out of spec. And so that's why I'm not a fan of them, though I do think some break in is acceptable, and that's my thoughts there. Do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think we would see. I don't like it, and I think there should be rules put in place because I do think if it was set free, and softball's not a good example because dudes shave their bats, dudes roll there's all kinds of things people do to make their bats hotter than they should be anyway. But I don't want to see that in pickleball. And if we just let break-ins be acceptable, you're going to get people that make paddles that pass, but then get crazy hot.
Yeah, people can design for that.
Yeah, exactly. There will be people designing to make it pass the initial test and then just get hotter.
Yeah, that's good. All right, next question is from Christy Gibson 09. Of the new paddles being released, would any be worth switching from the ALW 12.7? First thought was the Ripple R2. I don't know if that's going to get approved, but the Ripple R2 is the one that is most similar to ALW in the sense that it's very light, very poppy, very powerful. I don't think there's another paddle on the market that has that same profile as the ALWs, ESQs. They're pretty unique that way. If you were to switch to one, I would say the Carbon True Foam 2. I switched to that one from the ESQ 12.7. Main reasoning was better sweet spot. It's not as dead at the top. I found that I had enough pop and power, but was able to do a little more on the control side with it. And so it's a little toned down. It's not a replica of the ALW with a better feel. It does play differently, but that's the one I was like, that makes sense to maybe switch from there to that one, but there's not a direct switch coming out.
I don't know are we talking the ALW 12.7 with the short weird handle or the normal handle?
I'm assuming the normal one.
The new one?
Yeah. But yeah, there's my thoughts there. Last question is from Fresh Juice Box. Say that 3 times fast.
Fresh Juice Box.
Fresh Juice Box. All right. Their question was, how are we going to define Gen 4 going forward? This is a great question.
It's kind of funny because of the conversations we were having.
Yeah. So I saw this question come through, and then I messaged the reviewer chat, and we were talking about this.
Oh, that's what sparked that conversation?
Okay. I thought it was a great question. So Gen 4, up until this point, we've used Gen 1 to describe cold press paddles, Gen 2 to describe thermoform, Gen 3 to describe the dual foam edge. Mm-hmm. And it used to be, Gen 2 is going to give you this playing characteristic. Gen 3 is going to give you this paddle profile. Not so much the case anymore because things have shifted so much over the last year where cold press can be power paddles and with, the bantams and the variety of paddle profiles we've seen with Gen 3 style. And we came to the consensus of let's just ditch Gen 1, Gen 2, and just call it paddle construction because that's what we're describing anyways. Yep. And so maybe rather than saying, what's Gen 4, what's Gen 3? And using Gen 1, Gen 3 also implies Gen 4 is better than Gen 3, which is not always the case.
Not at all.
And so this way we can say...
Paddle Tech prove that.
Yeah. Let's just say, okay, the paddle construction for this is a dual foam. This is a floating core with thermoforming. This is just thermoforming. This is a solid foam core. We're just going to... I think it's better to describe paddles that way rather than using the gens. But if we were to define a Gen 4, it would probably be the solid foam cores, right?
If you're going in chronological order,
So that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hope you